दाबायचं, 0 करायचा, संपला तर सुरू करून टाकायचं.
Hello dear friends, myself Dr.K.N.Gaikwad, Department of Botany, KTHM College, Nasik. Our botany paper first title is Taxonomy of Angiosperm and Plant Ecology. We have completed Taxonomy of Angiosperms and we have started second group as per our syllabus, Plant Ecology. Under that, we have completed Introduction to Plant Ecology, Definition, Concept, Autoecology and Synecology. In second lecture of Plant Ecology, we have completed Biological Diversity. And today we are going to see here next unit of this topic, Genetic and Species Diversity. As per our syllabus, we have to see here genetic diversity, definition, nature and origin of genetic diversity. Second point is that species diversity. Under that, we have to see here definition, origin of species diversity, diversity indices and species abundance. Now, species diversity means what? According to biological species concepts, that is BSc, species is the basic unit of classification and is defined as the group of similar organisms that interbreed with one another and produce offsprings and share a common lineage. Species diversity refers to biodiversity at the most basic level and is the variety and abundance of species types of individuals of a species in a given or particular area. Species diversity includes all the species on Earth, ranging from plants such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, algae, which are lower groups, bryophytes, pteridophytes. Higher groups are nothing but gymnosperm and angiosperm. And all the species of animals including unicellular protozoans to mammals. Certain regions support a more diverse population than others. Regions that are rich in nutrients and have well balanced climatic factors such as moderate temperature, proper light, and adequate rainfall show high degree of diversity in their life forms. The tropical areas support more diverse plant and animal communities than the desert and polar areas. As for examples, tropical forest has a higher species diversity as compared to a timber plantation. The regions that are rich in species diversity are called hotspots of biodiversity. Species diversity is defined as the number of different species present in an particular ecosystem. For example, forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, sea ecosystem, etc. and relative abundance of each of those species. Diversity is greatest when all the species present are equally abundant in the area. There are two constituents of species diversity. First of all, species richness. Species richness means number of different species present in an ecosystem. Tropical areas have greater species richness as the environment is conducive for large number of species. That means in tropical, the environmental conditions are favorable for that species. Second one, species evenness. It means relative abundance of individuals of each of those species. If the number of individuals within a species is fairly constant across communities, it is said to have a high evenness, and if the number of individuals varies from species to species, it is said to have low evenness. High evenness leads to the greater specific diversity. That means these are nothing but the two constituents, species richness and species evenness. Now let us see importance of species diversity. In a healthy ecosystem, diverse and balanced number of species exist to maintain the balance of an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, all the species depends on each other directly or indirectly. So to make a more efficient, productive and sustainable ecosystem, it is important to maintain high species diversity. More diversity ecosystem tend to be more productive. For example, the ecosystem with great variety of producers species will produce large biomass to support a greater variety of consumer species. Biomass means whatever be the food material present in that producers. Producers means all green plants. Greater species richness and productivity make an ecosystem more sustainable and stable. More diverse the ecosystem, greater is the ability to withstand the environmental stresses like drought or invasive infestation. Species richness make an ecosystem able to respond to any catastrophe. In species-rich communities, each species can use a different portion of resources available as per their requirement. For example, plants with smaller roots can absorb water and minerals from shallow soil, and plants with deeper roots can tap deeper soil. Rich diversity is important for the survival of mankind. Healthy biodiversity has innumerable benefits like nutrient storage and recycling of elements, soil formation, and protection from erosion, absorption of harmful gases, and climate stability. Humans get lot of product from nature like fruits, cereals, meat, wood, fiber, resin, dyes, medicines, antibiotics, etc. Amazon forest is estimated to produce 20% of total oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere through photosynthesis because of richness of diversity. Pollinators, symbiotic relationships, decomposers, each species perform a unique role, which is irreplaceable. Diversity in numbers help in large-scale interactions among organisms, such as in the food web. In the nitrogen cycle, bacteria, plants have crucial relationships. Earthworms contribute to soil fertility. Apart from these, there are other benefits such as recreation and tourism, education, and research. These are the importance of diversity. In this way, we have completed species diversity. As per our syllabus, next diversity is nothing but the genetic diversity, under which we have to first of all see the definition, nature and origin of genetic variations. Now, genetic diversity is the total number of genetic characteristics in the genetic makeup of a species. It ranges widely from the number of species to differences within species and can be attributed to the span of survival for a species. Now let us see what is the actual definition. Genetic diversity is defined as genetic variability present within species. Because in every species there is a genetic variation. Genetic diversity is the product of recombination of genetic material in the process of inheritance. It changes with time and space. Sexual reproduction is important in maintaining genetic diversity as it gives unique offspring by the combining genes of parents. That means maternal and paternal characters. Then mutation of genes, genetic drift, and gene flow are also responsible for genetic diversity. Now let's see genetic diversity examples. Different breeds of dogs. Dogs are selectively bred to get desired traits. Different varieties of rose flowers, wheat, etc. There are more than 50,000 varieties of rice and more than 1,000 varieties of mangoes found in India. Different varieties of medicinal plants of Rawalpolia, Omitoria, present in different Himalayan ranges, differ in the amount of chemical reserpine produced by them. Now these are some examples of genetic diversity. Now let us see next point, importance of genetic diversity. Genetic diversity gives rise to different physical attributes to the individual and capacity to adapt to stress, diseases, and unfavorable environmental conditions. Another important environmental changes that are natural or due to human intervention lead to the natural selection and survival of fittest. Hence, due to genetic diversity, the varieties that are susceptible die and ones who can adapt to changes will survive. Genetic diversity is important for the healthy population by maintaining different varieties of genes that might be resistant to pests, diseases, or their conditions. New varieties of plants can be grown by crossbreeding different genetic variants and produce plants with desirable traits like disease resistance, increased tolerance to stress. Another important is that genetic diversity reduces the recurrences of undesirable inherited traits. It ensures that at least there are some survivors of a species left. Now let us see genetic variation. Genetic variation is a measure of genetic differences that exist within a population. Population means same type of the plants of the species. For example, wheat crops, rice crop, etc. In that plant, you will get also the variation. The genetic variation is an entire species is often called genetic diversity. Genetic variations are the differences in DNA segments or genes between individuals, and each variation of a gene is called an allele. You have studied in genetics. For example, a population with many different alleles at a single chromosome locus has a high amount of genetic variation. Genetic variation is essential for natural selection because natural selection can only increase or decrease frequency of alleles that already exist in population. Mostly, genetic variation is caused in same population by mutation. Mutation means sudden change in chromosomes that results into the formation of genetic makeup. Second one, random mating between organisms. Third one, random fertilization. Next one, cause crossing over or recombination between chromatids of homologous chromosomes during meiosis. The last three of these factors reshuffle alleles within a population, giving offspring combination which differ from parents and other from others. What are the sources of genetic variations? Gene duplication, mutation, or other processes can produce new genes and alleles and increase genetic variation in population. New genetic variation can be created within generations in a population. So, a population with rapid reproduction rates will probably have high genetic variation. However, existing genes can be arranged in new ways from chromosomal crossing over and recombination in sexual reproduction. Overall, the main sources of genetic variation are the formation of new alleles and altering of gene number or position. Another one, rapid reproduction and sexual reproduction. Now, next point is that diversity indices. It is also called phylogenetic or Simpson's diversity index. It is a quantitative measures that reflects how many different types, such as species, there are in dataset or community, and that are simultaneously take into account the phylogenetic relations among the individuals distributed among those types, such as richness, divergence, or evenness. These indices are statistical representations of biodiversity in the different aspects, that is richness, evenness, and dominance. A diversity index is a statistic that increases when the number of types into which a set of entities has been classified increases and obtains its maximum value for given number of types when all types are represented by the same number of entities. When diversity indices are used in ecology, the entities of interest are usually individuals, plants or animals, and the types of interest are species or other taxa. In demography, the entities of interest can be people, and the type of interest varies demographic groups and information science. The entities can be characters and the type the different letters of alphabets. The most commonly used diversity indices are simple transformations of the effective number of types. It is also known as true diversity. But each diversity index can be interpreted in its own right as a measure corresponding to some real phenomenon, but a different one for each diversity index. Now let us see some definition. Species richness means what? That is, it is represents by capital S. Is the total number of species found in an environment all typical sample area or ecosystem. Simpson index means it is probability that two randomly selected individuals belong to the two different species or categories. Shannon Wiener index is measuring the order or disorder in a particular system. This order is characterized by the number of individuals found for each species or category in a sample. A high species diversity may indicate a healthy environment. Evenness means it is a measure of how similar or abundance of different species or categories are in a community. Evenness is ranged from 0 to 1. When evenness is close to 0, it indicates that most of the individuals belong to one or a few species categories. When the evenness is close to the 1, it indicates that each species categories consist of the same number of individuals. Richness is the simple numerical count of number of different types of organisms present in particular area. Species richness is a count of number of species, named or otherwise, that are present. Taxonomic richness is a count of number of different taxon presence. Now let's see species abundance. It is the number of individuals per species, and relative abundance refer to the evenness of distribution of individuals among species in a community. Two communities may be equally rich in species but differ in relative abundance. For example, each community may contain 5 species and 300 individuals. But in the one community, all species are equally common. That is, for example, 60 individuals of each species. While in the second community, one species significantly outnumbers the other four. These components of species diversity respond differently to various environmental conditions. The region that does not have a wide variety of habitats usually is species poor. However, the few species that are able to occupy the region may be abundant because competition with other species for resources will be reduced. Trends in species richness may reveal a good deal about both past and present conditions of regions. The Antarctic continent has a few species because its environment is so inhospitable. However, oceans islands are species poor because they are hard to reach, or as is the case that lesser Sunda Islands in south central Indonesia, because they are of rather recent origin and organisms have not had enough time to establish themselves. Global gradient also affect species richness. The most obvious gradient is latitudinal. There are more species in the tropic than in the temperate or polar zones. Ecological factors commonly are used to account for this gradation. Higher temperatures, greater climate predictability, and longer growing seasons all conspire to create more inviting habitat, permitting a greater diversity of species. And tropical rainforests are the richest habitat of all tropical grassland, exhibit more diversity than the temperate grassland, and desert in the tropic or subtropical regions are populated by the wider range of species than the temperate desert. This is because of environmental conditions which are favorable in rainforest. Now in this way we have completed species diversity and genetic diversity. And lastly, these are some exercises or assignment. There are 5 questions. First question is that define species diversity. Second one, define genetic diversity. Third one, explain species abundance. Fourth one, describe diversity indices. And fifth one, explain genetic variations. Thank you.